Hi guys, I'm the Serial Plagiarist, and I wanted to talk about two things. First, I wanted to discuss the Andor show, and second, the idiot trying to defend blatant filler content. I expected nothing less from the man who is a literal slave to his SJW sister/wife. Defending Disney here is impossible, so I wanted to discuss how he botches his defense of Andor. Now, my expectations for Andor are low as hell. Interest is low because Cassian Andor was a one-off character from a Star Wars spin-off. Ironically, I expect Andor to be the best live-action show in the foreseeable future. Why? Because Rogue One was an okay film, which translates to instant masterpiece by Disney Star Wars standards at this point. And unlike a lot of the other shit, one of the original writers is returning, aka someone who would understand Rogue One best as the writer of it. The most I expect from the show is to at least match the quality of Rogue One. Rogue One was not instantly doomed from the start, like the sequel trilogy, The High Republic, or the bait of Bobby Fett. So perhaps Rogue One can be enhanced. With that being said, that is pretty much all I can say personally to justify this shitty excuse for an idea. This is a filler show, reflective of Disney making content for the sake of content. The only interesting sounding show is The Acolyte, and that's only because it sounds very derivative off of the fucking Darth Plagueis novel that went into the ideology of the Sith and expanded lore that was interesting. But knowing Disney, they'll find some way to fuck it up. The main criticism I have of Andor is that it's a fucking filler show. I don't care if it's the tie-in to Rogue One, it's filler. Rogue One was designed as a one-off movie, a self-contained story, if you will. Andor sounds like something that should be in a fucking book. So enough of the introduction. Let's see what Disney Shill has to say in defense of the filler in a Twinkie.
About a week ago, our main question for our weekly Q&A was about the Andor series on Disney Plus potentially changing from 5 seasons into 3.
Wow. They must be so fucking confident in Andor if they think 5 seasons, which is ridiculous, is worth that. What is there to tell in 5 seasons? Keep in mind, season 1 will be 12 episodes long, so if it's 5 seasons, that means we've got 60 fucking episodes ahead of us. Do not try to tell me none of it will be useless filler, like the show itself is to fill in content.
And I was surprised to see how many people were completely writing Andor off.
And I'm surprised why you still support a corporate entity after all the books you read from both Legends and Disney canon alike were invalidated. I wonder what excuses you told yourself to justify it.
Why do we even need 3 seasons? Why does it even have 1 season? Really? The guy who died at the end of 1 movie? Such a dumb concept. A character from Rogue One whose fate we know. Who would watch 5 seasons, let alone 3? Oh, and my favorite, nobody wants Andor.
I'm going to point out that these comments are extremely cherry-picked. None of the comments have any likes aside from one of them that has 3 likes. I think it's clear that you just picked out the hate comments and tried to paint that as the bulk of the disinterest surrounding Andor.
I cannot stand those kinds of comments in particular. It just reeks of entitlement.
You serious?
And an attitude of give me what I want and only what I want all the time because I speak for the entire fandom.
Yeah, the classic, sorry you're not getting the story you wanted argument. Nobody is going into this with a checklist of the stuff they want to see. Like, obviously there's a lot of shit fans desire, but who the hell is letting that cloud their judgment on the story being given? My complaint isn't that I wanted something else, it's that what we're getting is filler content. Also, I'd be on board if the previous content was in the least bit good, and I knew I could trust Disney to make good content.
It's such an egotistical statement to say nobody wants a show just because you can't think outside of the box even a little bit to see the potential of this series.
Thinking outside the box? No. You're talking about thinking inside the box. Remember Star Wars 1313? That was pretty creative and ambitious, and was intended to put LucasArts on the right track. Cancelled, along with LucasArts getting shut down, and then giving the rights to Electronic Arts for several years. which led to even more cancellations like Project Ragtag and Battlefront 3. Go to hell. The way I see it, they're canning the good stuff and churning out the crap that they think will make them more money, only for it to immediately backfire. Seriously, who are you to talk about potential?
I should say that there were also plenty of comments expressing excitement for Andor.
Again, cherry-picked. Two of the comments are like in the 80s and the 90s and likes. Hopefully you can tell by now that he's presenting very selective comments for his narrative.
I don't want to give the impression that the entirety of the Star Wars fandom is baffled by this series, but I can't deny that some fans are confused. In fact, here's a comment expressing that confusion in a perfectly reasonable way. I'm still confused as to why they are making a series about Cassian Andor.
The nicest potential reason I have is that Diego Luna is a huge Star Wars fan, hence why he's going to be in, allegedly, 3 to 5 seasons of this shit.
I want to relate all of this to a time where I had very similar feelings, and that was when The Bad Batch was announced as its own series.
Yeah, why didn't they just give Delta Squad their own show?
I was like, really? Them? Those action movie caricatures from the final season of the Clone Wars? Okay. I was confused, but then the series premiered, and the caricatures were very quickly humanized.
I'm losing my fucking mind now. How the fuck were the Sad Batch humanized? They stayed stereotypes for like half the show, and I doubt it got any better in the second half.
And not only that, but I realized we were going to be exploring the transition period from Republic into Empire in a very compelling way through the lens of these people that had a purpose and then lost it and have to find a new one.
Even the way you're describing it, this story has definitely been done and been done better elsewhere.
I think Andor is going to be very similar. Sure, the show is going to follow Cassian Andor.
Oh, really? I thought it was going to follow Babu Frick as he self-loathes his surname.
But we're also going to learn a lot about the Rebel Alliance.
Don't count on it. Disney stories have terrible world building.
I thought that's what Star Wars Rebels was going to be, and it occasionally touched on stuff with Mon Mothma and Saw Gerrera, but it mostly focused on the crew of the Ghost.
Sounds like shit. Can't wait to finish the Clone Wars so I can rip into Rebels.
That's not a knock on Rebels, I love that show, but I would also love to see the formation of the rebellion more directly.
Critics like me do not share your optimistic expectations of the show.
And guess what? Mon Mothma is going to be in this show. It's not been confirmed, but it has been rumored that Bail Organa and Saw Gerrera will be in it as well.
You're basing this off of rumors. Buddy, you're dreaming right now. Wake the fuck up to reality.
The story is said to take place 5 years before Rogue One during the formative years of the rebellion. I am personally confused people can hear all of that and not be intrigued.
The Force Unleashed is all I need.
I guess they might wonder why it's following Cassian specifically. I think that's a brilliant choice, and I'll tell you why. Cassian is a symbol for the gray area in which the Rebel Alliance has to operate. Mon Mothma is the incorruptible leader, Saw Gerrera is on the opposite side, the extremist who goes too far and loses his humanity as a result. Cassian is right in the middle. I think this series will explore that struggle to find the balance. How far is too far in the fight against oppression? And Cassian will be at the center of that struggle. By his own admission in Rogue One, he has had to do some terrible things in service of the rebellion. Things bad enough that it drove him to go on a suicide mission, so they weren't all for nothing.
This might be the closest to being a valid point. Rogue One had an interesting outlook on morality in the rebellion, so maybe the Andor show can do that, but I wouldn't count on it.
So in my mind, we are now going to see those things. I think our time watching Andor is going to make Rogue One hit even harder.
What makes you think people are going to watch it? I'm only watching it for a review.
Which brings me to that one silly complaint I've seen repeated over and over again.
And by over and over again, he means the one cherry-picked complaint in the comment section.
Why tell his story if we already know he's going to die? Great point. Let's go ahead and cancel the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. We know he dies in A New Hope, so what's the point?
That's not actually a bad idea, although obviously it's not because of his eventual fate.
And let's go back in time and cancel the Clone Wars. We know Anakin's just gonna fall to the dark side anyway.
Yeah, and then canon back in 2008 wouldn't be a mess. Finally, you're speaking coherently.
Actually, let's keep going back in time and cancel all those prequels as well. We know Anakin dies in Return of the Jedi.
And that's where you stopped speaking coherently. Thanks for getting my hopes up and then wasting my time.
Just because we know how a character's story ends doesn't mean there is nothing more to learn about them and nothing more to say with them.
I don't personally care about what he says here because I don't use that argument, and neither does 99.99% of the fan base.
Of the 5 most recent Star Wars films, Rogue One seems like the least controversial. I feel like most of the fandom seems to, at the very least, think it was pretty good, but I mostly see overwhelming praise for it. So it's odd to see cynicism surrounding a full-on series coming from Tony Gilroy that will probably be very similar in tone to Rogue One.
Did it ever occur to you that people liked Rogue One as a one-off thing?
It's being described as a tense, nail-biting spy thriller.
Sounds awful.
That sounds great. And what little we've seen for it so far with the sets and the creature effects all looks very impressive.
It looks hideous. Those puppets you showed on screen look nothing like Star Wars.
I don't know, I think Andor has a chance to surprise a lot of Star Wars fans.
Man, just go to hell.
It hasn't gotten the same level of attention as The Mandalorian or Obi-Wan Kenobi. I feel like people keep forgetting that it's even happening, but when I really look at what this series will probably be about, I'm just psyched. It's probably going to be very different, but that's a good thing.
It's very sad how at this point, this guy's excited for something that is not fan service at best.
More variety in our Star Wars is good. Now, I'm not saying Andor is going to be the greatest thing ever. I hope it's good. It has a lot of potential, and I'm not saying that you have to be excited for it. Maybe you didn't like Rogue One. Maybe Star Wars doesn't feel like Star Wars to you without the Jedi. That is perfectly fine. But the automatic cynical reaction from fans who seem like they won't stop for even a second to consider what they might really enjoy from the series just because it's not exactly what they want right now.
Oh, fuck off with that shit again.
It just bugs me. I don't know why some fans refuse to be even a little optimistic about a franchise that has already given them so much.
Disney helming it, you dumbass.
Give Star Wars a chance to expand what it can be. That said, I do think Star Wars could stand to get out of that same era. We are getting a lot of stories set in between episodes 3 and 4. That's a fair argument. But we're definitely getting that with The Acolyte, and there are rumors of even more series on the way set in the High Republic era.
They better keep the High Republic as a collection of shitty books. I'm not interested in that SJW trash.
All that to say, I'm excited for Andor. I don't think it's getting the attention it deserves, not just from fans, but from Lucasfilm as well. Hopefully, that all changes in less than a month at Celebration, but that's all I have to say for today.
And finished. Gee, this guy still can't tell why he doesn't want to see Andor. He cherry-picked comments to perpetuate a shitty narrative that the Andor disinterest is unfounded. It isn't. I'm JJ Plagiarisms. And until next time, what are stories about mystery boxes?
We found you hiding, we found you lying, choking on the dirt and sand. Your former glories and all your stories, dragged and washed with